What's up? How's everybody doing? Hope everything is sizzling tonight. Sizzling. Sizzling like this beat. God damn. If this don't make you want to grow a big fat black booty and shake it all over the dance floor, I don't know what will. Oh, shit. Alright, that's enough of that. That's enough of that. I've had enough of that. How's everybody doing tonight? Oh. Hey, yo. You started vaping today. Guess what flavor you got? I bet you got some Bubblicious grape vape, dude. I bet you did. Freestyle the beat. No. No, man. No. Beat went too hard. Yep. Another edition of fucking Ideology, indeed. You guys are getting like a bunch today, right? Got a TJ stream, a long ass one too. TJ did like a 100 to 0 on his phone. He's got the, you know, he may not overall do this as often as I do, but TJ got, you know, he's got stamina. He knows how to put up with the tism for long chunks of time. He lost the lottery, yeah. I mean, that's basically what usually happens to people, right? That's why I don't play the lottery. That whole "you've got to be in it to win it" warning, I guess that flew over my head. It warns me away. I'm just like, oh. So if I'm not in it, then I'm not up to win it. And I don't have to worry about it. Huh. Fair enough. Load up some perfectly legal tobacco here to kick the stream off right. If you have any of your own, I suggest you do the same. It's about that time. Am I wrong? Am I wrong? You know, I don't ask you guys for much, but you know, if you got a little you got a little something, you got a little legal tobacco, stuff it in one of your legal tobacco pipes, and let's all get toasty like this bacon here on the screen, yeah? Wow, no dislikes. I mean, like, you just saying that caused a cascade of at least five. At least five. Just because you mentioned it. Oh, boy. See? Told you. How's the legal tobacco in Louisiana? It's legal, and it's tobacco-y. Yeah, there are 15. Oh, man, see? All I did was read a comment, and 15 of you, you know, iconoclastic motherfuckers decided you had to go and show me what was what for daring to read a comment from somebody saying that there were no dislikes yet. I'm fucking, you know what? You guys have once again taught me a lesson. Don't fuck with the chat. Don't fuck with the chat. Don't even let the chat think you might be fucking with them, because they will dislike you. The dislikes rolled back once you acknowledge them. That's great. I love it. And now that I mentioned that, they'll probably roll right back. Oh, shit, son. Whatever. What are we supposed to do with that? What it do, what it do, what it do. How it do. How it be. Oh, what do you think of the movie American History X? It's pretty good, right? Tim Norton's good in it. And what's that other kid's name? The kid that's in it. Edward Furlong. Yeah, I think it's probably the movie that he's best in. Edward Furlong, I don't know, he was in quite a few movies in the 90s and shit. Had a, a child actor career. And I think he was probably at his best in American History X, although, he was in Terminator 2 as well. He was great in that. I hate slow mode. Why we gotta be on slow mode? Well, I mean, I hate slow mode too, I'll be honest with you, but I hate having to play fucking tag with a bunch of stupid assholes that just spam shit, so I can't read genuine comments, so, we gotta find a middle ground somewhere. Yo, chat, let's get that 50-50 like-dislike ratio going. Oh, Silver Flare, now you've done it. Now you fucking done it, man. The dislike train is pulling out of the station as I speak, you motherfucker. Did you hear that Trump Jr. is getting divorced? Trump Jr. Oh, okay. Donald Jr. is getting a divorce? Okay. Maybe his wife is tired of, staring at the president and realizing that that's what his old wrinkly balls are going to look like in about 20 years, and decided to cut her losses and call it quits. I understand, Paul. I'd rather not play tag with the N-word spammer. Yeah, dude. Yeah. I mean, whatever. It's his little game and it's fun, but I think the whole idea is to make my attention go in multiple different directions. So as I'm talking, just load up the spam. So I have to stop in the middle of what I'm doing and fucking handle it. Just bullshit. Ain't worth it. Oh yeah, dude. Adding a mod or two and turning slow mode on, I haven't seen any spam. I mean, obviously slow mode stops it. Unless somebody wants to log in with 25 accounts simultaneously and somehow post from those 25 accounts simultaneously. I mean, like I said, I'm helping people out here. I'm giving you ways that you could still spam. Go make 25 accounts, all with different names. Log them in simultaneously in different browser instances. And then, I don't know, make a shell script that hits enter all at once on all of the pages. What was your favorite scientist? Stephen Hawking was mine. He died recently. Yeah, I know he died. I mean, we talked about it a lot yesterday. My favorite scientist? I don't know, man. I mean, Jonas Salk was a pretty badass dude. And a great example to give when people talk about how outside of capitalism there would be no drive for people to create anything or innovate anything. You've all probably heard that excuse, like without money, without the promise of monetary reward, there's no drive to make any new breakthrough. There's no drive to make any new cures. There's no drive to strive for new scientific knowledge without, a fistful of dollars. And, Jonas Salk comes along as a historical figure and goes, hey, fuck you. I cured polio and I released the vaccine for free. Yeah, dude. The secret police, yeah. I don't even have to say anything about it. It's just like when somebody gets out of line, Kuhlman just fucking raids their fucking internet and they just are never heard from again, dude. They're taken to the gulag permanently, thrown in a stripy hole. I think most scientists who are any good could care less about money and only their work. Well, I think that's true for a lot of innovative professions, but people don't seem to agree with me. At least a lot of people don't. A lot of people think that these things would not exist, these types of minds would not exist if it were not for, the promise of monetary gain. And I think that's a stupid fucking argument. I think most scientists... Oh, yeah. KGB now, read creepypasta. Okay. I'm not going to do that, but thank you. I really like that you're drawing out the creepypasta despite their massive popularity. If you did them every night, the shtick would get old, but the infrequency... Yeah, exactly. I mean, look, dude, this is not a creepypasta channel. I realize that a lot of the people that subscribe did not subscribe for that kind of content, so I don't want to inundate people with that type of shit. And it was never my intent to turn this channel into that. I will do another story time. I've actually been collecting stories for it recently. I won't tell you when, because I like it to be a surprise. I remember hearing that Jonas, in response to asking who owns the polio vaccine, he said, the people own it. It's like patenting the sun. Yeah. I mean, he had, he knew that what he had created needed to be given for free. He knew that people worldwide needed to have access to this vaccine because it would save their lives. And so he gave it to the world and cured a disease that haunted a generation or two of people by twisting their children. And Jonas Salk came along without any fucking idea that he was going to be a billionaire, and he, basically saved the world. I'm in your boat, Paul. I graduate in December with a BS in chemistry. I'm in it for the fun of the research and knowing that I can make a change. There you go, man. The reason that people want money is because it's needed in society. The reason that people are tied to a capitalistic system of doing things is because that's the way the society around them runs. If you took that away and replaced it with a society that supported its citizens in another way, you would still have people making wonderful music, art, doing incredible science, studying, the human brain, psychology, medicine. Like, all of these things would not just grind to a halt because you couldn't make $20 billion doing them anymore. What other way, though? I mean, maybe turning our gross domestic product into a surplus, paying down the debt so that we don't have to constantly have the government coming with its hand out to people to support its bullshit. Leverage the power of the American economy to make sure that people are taken care of. Instead of, using that power to, export economic violence to other countries. Let's turn up the juice on that power here at home. There's a guy who's still alive, who's one of, if not the only person still alive in an iron lung. It's truly terrible. Oh my God, dude. Ugh. What an awful way to exist. Forcing people into debt to get education for these jobs, plus the huge salary that comes with it, attracts the wrong people. I mean, you got to imagine that that's true sometimes, right? I'm not saying it's always true. The right people end up in the job and the wrong people end up in the job under the current system. And I don't think that money would necessarily change that, although it might make it less frequent. People that don't really care about the job probably wouldn't have any reason to seek it out. And it would really, kind of boil it down to the people that had a genuine love for, whatever we're talking about, science, art, philosophy. Should you go into the trades? I mean, I have this aversion to the word should. My therapist kind of, I think, psychologically manipulated me into not liking that word. So, but, he had a point. The word should is a very speculative word that is oftentimes based on no real information. So for me to say you should do this or should do that just ignores your autonomy as a human being. I don't think that you should do anything. I think that you have the choice to go into the trades if you think it's the best idea. Personally, I'd love to see automation become commonplace and having humanity as a whole focus on exploration and creativity. I mean, I want humanity to focus on whatever they want to focus on. I want people to be unshackled from having to work shitty jobs that they don't like, trading an enormous part of the balance of their life towards nothing but enriching some other person. That doesn't seem to me like a free humankind. A humankind that's literally shackled to giving an enormous part of their life to somebody else solely for that person's enrichment. That just doesn't sit well with me. But automation is going to create that whether we have the foresight and wisdom to change the way that we structure our economy anyway. I mean, people listen to me talk and they think I'm a kook and whatever. And I don't. Listen, I don't have direct answers as to how, a different kind of non-capital-based society would function. I'm not a brilliant political philosopher. And I don't, I have some ideas, but I don't have the answers. But whether I have the answers or not, one thing is really not in controversy here, and that is automation is slowly but surely kicking jobs out from under poor people who can't find jobs elsewhere. And it's just ramping up now. Scotty came the other day before we did DFF, and he was like, "Dude." He picked us up some McDonald's on the way. He pulled through the drive-thru or went into McDonald's real quick and grabbed everybody some burgers before the show, right? And he comes in and he's like, "Man, you guys you guys would not believe what they've done to that McDonald's, dude." He's like, it's like the McDonald's of the future in there now. And he's describing it, and there's nobody working the counter. You just kind of walk in and order from a kiosk, and then, your money kind of comes out or your food just comes out. I mean, clearly there are people still working there. They haven't automated the burger flipping, but you bet your ass they're working on it. You bet your ass they are working on how they can fire these people that they have to pay to flip burgers and put the patty on the bun and clean the grill and replace them with robots that they don't have to pay. So we're going to have to come up with an answer to the questions, because automation isn't going to stop, and companies aren't going to stop going with the cheaper, more reliable, more precise option. In a lot of manufacturing jobs already, robots have completely you guys remember I've talked about the shittiest job I ever had, right? It's an example. The shittiest job I ever had was working at a recycling plant, and this garbage would come in. It was supposed to be recycled glass, and it would have diapers and metal and all this shit in it, right? Well, and I used to be part of a crew where we stood on that on either side of the conveyor belt, staggered up and down the line, and it was our job to look at and pick different parts of that trash out, metals and ceramics, right? Well, I'm not that old. I mean, I'm older than most of you, but I'm going on 38 this year. When I had that job, I was about 16. So not that long ago, right? 20 years ago, something like that. That job doesn't exist anymore. There's now a machine and a combination of machinery and magnets that sorts that garbage glass itself. So all of those jobs, the one that I held included, that had people standing along the conveyor belt picking trash out of it, there's now probably no recycling plant in the country that uses that kind of labor anymore. So all of those people that were employed doing that had to go seek employment elsewhere. And the people that would have been employed doing jobs like that have to go seek employment elsewhere in other job markets, which are also experiencing this new wave of automation and bullshit, right? So absolutely. Yeah, in the absence of factory jobs, America's low-skilled workforce has relied on the service industry to make ends meet. Retail's fate in our automated world puts financial prospects of millions at risk. Absolutely. But only if we don't fundamentally change our idea about what money is, how it's distributed, what people do with it, how people use it. Like if we're willing to remake our idea of an economy, and to and I don't think it's going to happen, at least not in my lifetime. But this full automation shit won't happen in my lifetime either. It may start happening in a lot of your lifetimes. You may see the front edge of things. See, I think robots are going to replace third world labor eventually, and there won't be such a thing as third world country somewhere in the future. I mean, I don't know, dude. Probably in the at least distant future, that'll be true. What do you think about universal basic income? I think when automation takes away too many jobs, that's the response we should have legislatively. That is an absolutely, brilliant idea, and I think would make up the structure of, my idea for a society moving forward. The idea that everybody is entitled to enough money to live on and just a little more, right? So enough money to pay for the things that you absolutely need: a roof over your head, food in your belly, lights, internet. You get that money, and then you got just a little bit more every month. So you have a little bit of discretionary income. You can go out to the movies a couple times a month, or save up and go on a little vacation somewhere, right? Everybody, no matter what, that is born in this country or that is a naturalized citizen of this country is entitled to that universal basic income, okay? And then outside of that, if you wanted more, so if you were a person that was driven to excel because of material wants, and you didn't want to live in a small Spartan apartment on a very fixed income, then you could go into the workforce. You could go into college, get an education, and be employed and paid more than that universal basic income, and serve the economy in a way that a machine can't. Entitled, yeah. Well, you know what? I don't. Somebody said it before. The way that the word entitled has slowly become corrupted. I'm not using it in terms of like I'm entitled. I'm saying that, like, as a citizen of this country, you're entitled. And the word entitlement has become synonymous with lazy, welfare cheats and shit. That's not the kind of entitlement that I'm talking about. And I'm certainly not using the word entitlement in that way. I'm talking about your rights as a citizen of this country, right? And a universal basic income would necessitate a changing of those rights. Is there an income threshold that would put you out of the UBI bracket? Or does everyone get the UBI no matter their personal outcome? I think that the UBI is there so long as that person's personal income is lower than the UBI. I don't think everybody gets the universal basic income, because there will be millions of people that will not need it, because there will be millions of people in the job market looking for those higher positions, looking to make more money and have more freedom in their lives. So, there will be, pretty stiff competition up there. But the people that are making, a decent wage are not going to need to have that distribution made to them. And a lot of people are put off by the fact that there will be a lot of people that sit around and do nothing with their lives. And they think that those other people working above them, subsidizing that kind of, I guess, quote unquote laziness, makes this idea kind of a bad one. And I can certainly see that perspective. I just choose to look at the problem more broadly and consider the people that are dependents of those people, who would probably be grifting and living on the edge of financial ruin anyway without the idea of a universal basic income. I think that the societal ills cured by a universal basic income are more important than the negative drawback that some people will just decide to laze around and do nothing with their lives. People are doing that anyway, So, you know, if you've got a good job, you know, you don't need the UBI. And then let's say something happens. You get laid off, or, you know, the company that you're working for goes belly up and you lose that position. Well, it's not like you went into free fall. You know, it's not like you go, oh my God, you know, I've got 2 months of income saved up, and if I can't get reemployed in that time, I don't know what the fuck to do. I'm not going to be able to pay for a place to live. Well, universal basic income is a thing. You know, you just move your stuff into a slightly more Spartan apartment. You take the UBI, you eat, you sleep, you look for a new job, and when you don't need it anymore, you move somewhere else, you know? Greedy Republicans and CEOs would never let a UBI happen. Republicans genuinely don't want the poor to be able to live, and the CEOs own the Democrats. We need like 500 Bernies to make that. I mean, look, right now, that is the state of affairs. I don't think that there's any chance in my lifetime that we'll see a universal basic income in the United States. But I do think that we will start to hear political talk about it. And, you know, maybe a generation after I'm gone, when automation has gone to the next level and really service jobs are almost non-existent anymore, there will be a massive crisis of unemployment in this country. And I think that there's a good chance that America decides to institute some kind of universal basic income structure to stave off that kind of apocalyptic scenario of having just roving bands of people that are unemployable by anybody because their labor can be reproduced by a machine way cheaper. I'm on disability and SSI. Trust me, it's not what it's cracked up to be. It covers my medical, and I cringe every time I see the invoice. $1,800 for a 4-hour infusion. Most people can't afford that. Yeah, no shit. I mean, you talk about people that need kidney dialysis, right? I had a relative that before they passed was getting dialysis, and looking at those fucking bills, every dialysis session was some like $25,000 charge to the insurance. It's fucking insane. Not only do we have to worry about machines replacing us as workers, we also have to worry about outsourcing to cheaper countries. Look, I don't think we have to worry about either of those things. That's my point, man. The current paradigm is shit. This idea that millions of people get up every day, go to a job that they fucking can't stand, and trade a significant portion of their life for just enough money to get by on, or in some cases less, is a fucking nightmare. And to try and hold on to that system, no matter what your bootstrap theology is, you know what I mean? Like, I get it when people are like, you know, there's something about having character. A man build himself up from nothing. That's a very unique thing to America. You know, I'm sure it's not unique totally, but we have adopted it in a very unique way here in America. We take it very literally, and we apply it to almost everything, and I think that's bullshit. I think that's total fucking bullshit. I don't think that's a good excuse to have a paradigm in this country where, like I said, millions of people are working shit-fuck jobs that are wearing their bodies out, wearing their mental state out, that they can barely drag themselves out of bed to fucking face every goddamn day. That's not a life. Paul, I've always just been of the opinion we need to institute a minimum wage because it will force us to confront the issue of automation. Low wages just put the problem on the back burner. I mean, in the short term, we need to be talking about a raising of the federal minimum wage across the board. Absolutely. What people are making now in the lowest of the lowest rung service positions and labor positions in this country is fucking appalling. Totally fucking appalling. And certainly not enough to live anything like a functional life. And just compound that if you got children, which a lot of these people do. Now that... I don't think it's smart for people in those types of positions to have kids, but I can't show up in their bedrooms and put a condom on their cock, okay? I can't tie their tubes or give them, force feed them the pill. But, I can advocate for those people in one way. I don't think that they should have to kill themselves at a job that they hate to live in squalor. Whether or not I agree with their work ethic or not really doesn't come into my philosophy on that. I'm really neither scared nor hopeful for the future because I know that I won't be experiencing it one way or the other, so wrapping myself up in knots about it seems like a fruitless waste of time. I enjoy thinking about the possibilities of the future, and I always have. My brain has always sought out these kind of far-flung ideas about what the future might be. So I guess I would say I'm neither, scared or worried. I'm just interested. Do you plan on voting in the midterm elections? If not, why? I don't vote. And I made that philosophical decision after Obama's first election, and it's one that I stick to today. And I know that sticks in a lot of people's craw, but I look at voting as a tacit acceptance of the current system, and I do not accept the current system. I don't accept a system that allows corporations to lobby the people that I elect to write and sign their name next to legislation that is not in my best interests in exchange for golf junkets, house remodelings, generous donations to campaign reelection funds, promises of jobs, in the lobbying industry after their term. And as long as that's going on, and that's going on, and continues to go on, and probably will continue to go on, I cannot bring myself to walk into the booth and go through the pageantry of voting. So George Carlin's take on voting was a little, more disengaged than that. He was just like, fuck it, man. That was basically his, right? It's like, I'm going to sit at home. Election day, I'm going to sit in my fucking house, kick my feet up. I work 48 hours a week, get paid a pretty fair wage in my state, and even then I still barely make enough just to pay for my mortgage and food and other necessities with no welfare and 2 kids. I mean, some of that is probably your fault. I mean, if you've got a mortgage that's strapping you to your income limit, then you probably shouldn't have taken that mortgage. But I understand what you're saying. The financial struggles don't cease when you break into the middle class zone. You know what I mean? You're still just a skipped heartbeat away from total fucking financial destitution. We'd have to make lobbyists and offshore accounts illegal. Otherwise, the CEOs will continue to lobby and hide from taxes. I mean, that's just one of the things that we've got to do to stop lobbying. I mean, one of the most egregious stories, and I know I've mentioned it before, but it's just one of those things that sticks in my craw so fucking hard. Is there was one point several years ago on the floor of the House of Representatives before a big vote that was going to, it was a tobacco vote, so warning labels or some kind of regulation of the tobacco industry. And there was a representative, a lobbyist for the tobacco industry, walking around on the floor of the House of Representatives and cutting checks to representatives right there. Cutting checks on the floor of the House of Representatives and handing them to people in exchange for their promise to vote in the way that the tobacco industry wanted the legislation to go. Literally cutting checks on the floor. Yeah, it's working. Yeah, but get out there and vote, though. Get out there and vote somebody into office who will immediately be co-opted by a fistful of money and start working against your interests. And then tell me how it's your American duty to keep electing the people to fuck you in the ass. Tell me how that's any better than me sitting back and going, you know what, at least I didn't say I supported these fucking retards. At least when this dipshit gets into office and immediately sells out to some corporate interest, moderates himself, supports the status quo, which is fucking people like me. But by all means, go ahead. Get out there. Pull a lever for your representative. If that makes you feel good, if you assign some kind of, I don't know, positive mental feeling to doing that, I'm not going to step in the way of that. I'm not going to tell you not to vote. That's how you want to spend your time, you go ahead. But I choose to go a different path. I walk a different road, dude. I walk that lonely road down the only one I'll ever know. Don't know where it goes. Oh, what a terrible song. What happened at fucking Green Day, dude? What the fuck happened to Green Day? The only way to change the system is to vote people in who are against it. Okay. Well, if that's what you believe, then please get out there and vote. I look at that, like changing out the spark plugs in a car whose engine long ago seized up from want of use. Or, changing the broken windshield on a rusted out piece of shit sitting in a junkyard working on all cinder blocks. That also puts a totally profound amount of trust in the intelligence of your average American citizen. You're like, yeah, man, the only way to change things is if people go out and vote in their best interests. Like, when have people ever done that? Where's that going to start? Okay, so don't vote, do nothing, and yet complain about the state of things. Yeah, okay, Paul. Well, agree to disagree. Yeah, okay. All right, dude. See, like, you remember when I said at the beginning, when we started talking about this not voting shit, which, by the way, I didn't really care to talk about. Somebody else asked a question, and it kind of springboarded into this. And I told you that, like, this is a very emotionally weighted issue for a lot of people. When I tell people I don't vote, and they ask me why, and I say, because I don't support the system of kleptocracy that is currently the paradigm in this country, and I think that voting would be tacit support of that, then they're immediately kind of assaulted with this wave of, like, disdain for me. And it's like, all right, well, I really don't disdain the people who do vote. I don't feel a sense of disdain, and I certainly don't jump out and, try to convince people not to do that. Yeah, doing nothing is a stance. I mean, a lot of people don't like to admit that, but sometimes opting out, speaks loudly, just as loudly as a stance than jumping in there does. Problem is that most politicians claim to be against the current system, or either lying or will eventually crash. Well, that's the thing, right? Because, like, you could have a person that is just totally, like, committed, you know, and then they get into the House, they see how it works, they want to keep that job because they want to keep making changes. See, a lot of these people don't even have directly malicious intent when they take this money. The system is set up so that your representatives, the people that you're voting for, need this money in order to secure their jobs. So if you got somebody in there that's doing a good job, they need to take this corporate money to secure their reelections. And money comes at a price. So even the good-natured politicians are selling your fucking ass up the river because they have to keep their jobs. You get it? Side note, I'm curious, why aren't you showing your face? I mean, no reason. I don't know. I don't feel like being on camera. I spend a lot of my life on camera, and I feel slightly more chill when I'm not. I guess that's the reason. Now, it doesn't mean I won't ever turn my thing back on. In fact, I'll do it now. I'll say hello to you guys. You can see my stupid fucking face. Here it is. Hello. How's everybody doing? This is what I look like as I'm sitting here and ranting and raving, but I don't really feel like being on cam tonight. So I'm just going to run my cinemagraphs and we'll have a chat. I know, exactly. That's how I feel, so. Hence the night train. If I didn't find pride in the Army, and I don't find pride in college, even though I'm passing, what do you think I could do? Even if you don't have a suggestion, thanks for reading. I think one of the things that you could do is stop concerning yourself with pride. I mean, it's not a bad thing to have pride in what you do, but I certainly don't think it's something that you should be chasing above all else. Chase fulfillment. Chase having fun. Realize that your time in this slowly rotting, meat carcass that your consciousness is currently inhabiting is limited. So seek out something that gives you pleasure. Fuck pride. Pride is just comparing yourself to other people. I mean, pride is a sin. I mean, that's the reason. That's the reason why pride is enumerated as one of the 7 deadly sins. Because really all it is looking at your life and going, man, I wish it was more like X. Or my life is great compared to X. I have pride because I've done something that made my life better than X, Y, and Z. It's like, why are you using other people's lives and successes as a measuring stick for what you do? I'd love to make videos, but I hate the sound of my own voice. Any tips on getting over it besides just gritting my teeth and bearing it? Nope. I mean, that's honestly what you got to do. I mean, if you really want to make videos, you got to get over it. And just look around. There are people with all kinds of fucking crazy voices making videos and being pretty successful at it. I mean, most politicians are also probably get that. Look, you can either take this $750,000 from the tobacco industry to vote to let kids smoke, or we'll use this money to make sure you know. I mean, yeah, there's a tacit fucking it's like a threat when they go to some of these representatives, right? It's like, look, we know that your re-election's coming up in a year. You're starting to ramp up your campaign. We wish you the best of luck. We also know that your opponent is spending quite a bit of money already. And your political coffers aren't that full. And we've got a solution for that here. Look, we've got some legislation that we'd like to see passed. And we're willing to make a generous contribution to your future re-election campaign in exchange for your vote. Now, that sounds pretty cordial and businesslike, but the implication is we've got money. And if you don't take it and vote the way we want, we're going to give it to your opponent because he will. TJ keeps talking about a film that you guys are planning to make. If that project gets off the ground, will you take people from out of state who want to work on the crew? We'll almost certainly have to. But yes, I mean, like, it'll be something that, like, it'll be a very kind of indie, maybe even slightly crowdsourced event. Because neither one of us has connections in Hollywood. So if you want to get a movie made, you're going to have to raise money for it. And you're going to have to employ people who are interested in the project. Isn't it better to do more good in a short amount of time than to be their puppet in the long run? Well, I mean, is it more... like, here's the thing. Can you get inside the psychology of your representative and see if his brain works that way? Or her brain? Because and there's a lot of difference between sitting and hypothesizing about something and actually sitting there with that money in front of you. You know what I mean? A lot of these people might go in with principles and then, really stand by those principles. And then notice the alienation amongst the other members of the body that they're serving in. Because those people are all on the payroll and you're not. So now you're the adversary. You're the guy that's standing in the way of all this money. And then your re-election campaign comes up, and your opponent is funded by your opponents in the body that you're serving in, and the corporations whose money you didn't take. And you're looking at, well, I served one term, I stood on principle, I got absolutely nothing done, made absolutely no committee appointment, and now I'm going to be replaced because I don't have the money to retain my job. Do you see a point in separating House and Senate? I mean, the reason that those powers are separated is to provide checks and balances on one another. So I do think it's at least within the current system, it's a smart thing. A smart thing to have two bodies that chew over the legislation before it heads to the president's desk. Independent bodies, representative of different sizes of demographics in their home state. Yeah, I think that's a smart idea. How do you think Bernie Sanders has gotten as far as he has in the political arena despite not playing the game? I mean, he's an exception to the rule, right? Bernie is a guy who is from one of the most liberal states in the nation, where people are very, very much prone to support a politician like that. And, he managed to build himself kind of a dynasty where when it's time for re-election, Bernie doesn't really have to spend all that corporate money. Because his name is Bernie Sanders, and he's been their representative since they were a fucking baby. You know what I mean? But yeah, to some extent, Bernie has to play the game. Bernie has a pretty immaculate voting record in the Senate. Cool. There are people trying to fight against money in politics. I agree it's going to be hard, but I just don't want to give up on that. I might be naive in this view, but I'd still like to try it. Well, I mean, that's a good thing. Part of my not voting is my way of springboarding conversations like this about getting money out of politics. And that's the honest truth. What I can do as a human being is pretty limited. As a single dude, I'm not going to be a world changer. So really all I've got is conversation and the spread of ideas and honing my ideas and sharpening my ideas against the ideas of others. That's why I live. That's the reason why I'm here. That's my philosophy. So, To say that there's no passion in me not voting is to completely miss the point, and I think misunderstand me. But that's just part of being alive, being misunderstood. What's to stop someone from taking a shit ton of corporate money, but then using that money against the corporations? Well, as soon as word gets out that they took that money and then used it one time against the corporations, then they will be offered absolutely no money by any corporation, and they will be probably replaced by a corporate-friendly politician as soon as their re-election comes up. I mean, you get what I'm saying here, right? The sad thing about sharpening your ideas is the painful realization of not being able to change your surroundings with it. Usually steel yourself through the times failure will get to you. Well, I mean, like, look, you got to separate those two expectations and understand that you're contributing something that will not bear fruit until you're probably gone. It may never bear fruit, but worrying about how your ideas and ideas like yours will be received in the future is a fruitless enterprise, in my opinion. And I think that, you know, what I just talked about, that idea that the reason that I feel like I'm here, if there is a reason at all, which, you know, the reason that I ascribe personally to my own existence is to have conversations with people. I mean, that's it stripped down. To talk to people about things that I'm passionate about, things that they're passionate about. And I don't really expect those opinions to change anything around me. I think that's one of the pitfalls that people fall into these days. They have an opinion, and they get discouraged when people don't agree. I'm, if anything, encouraged when people don't agree with me about things. It gives me hope. How likely do you think it is that politicians who go against the corporate tide are just killed off? I mean, I don't know, dude. I don't know who, if anyone, other than Oswald, was behind the JFK assassination. But I think that the idea that they're, you know, the people who kind of wield the most power in this country, you know, the moneyed elite, if there was some huge populist groundswell that was against them, they would probably be more likely in this day and age to find a way to co-opt that and make money off of it. So if there's this new wave of like, corporations suck, man, then Coke is going to start advertising like that. They'll be like, dude, corporations suck. But you know what doesn't suck? Memories of drinking a frosty Coke by the pool with your friends. This summer, stay out of the corporate nonsense. Get yourself a Coke. And you know what? Dipshits in this country will buy it. I feel like Bernie running last election, despite him losing, it showed younger generations what a good politician looks like, and those people will become the Bernies of the future. Hopefully, I mean, you maybe, possibly, I guess. Let me check my bacon real quick. It's looking pretty good, but it's still got some time. I can tell. I can tell that this bacon's going to need to fry for another few months, I think. I recognize the corruption in American politics, but the notion that all politicians are the same and that we therefore shouldn't vote strikes me as very fantastic. Surely there's more nuance. I'm not saying that all politicians are the same. I'm saying that the environment in which they are elected to is the same across the board for all those different personalities. And all of those personalities are beholden to the need for money, money that they probably won't be able to generate from their constituency, money that they will need to take from corporations and special interest groups. So I don't think it's as reductive as you're trying to make it out to be. I think it's a much more nuanced view than you give it credit for. I mean, if you've got a broken system and there's only one way to succeed in that system, really, and that way is take handfuls of corporate money, then what does it matter what your intentions are going in? One way to really cause change is for people to consume as little as possible. Take their money and not put it in banks. I think this is one strategy. Well, I mean, look, dude. You can't really function without a bank account. Like, a bank account is almost as important as having an identification when it comes to doing business. Like, just the business of living. Now, can you go off the grid and cash only and all that shit? Yeah, you can. Does it serve you as a human being to do that? I don't think so. Paul, have you played Oddworld Abe's Odyssey before? Yes, I have. I like it. It's a quirky little kind of point-and-click adventure, side-scroller platformer thing. Yeah, it's good. There's a lot of those Oddworld games. Should secession from the Union be lawful amongst the United States if they wanted to write better laws and basically be their own country? I mean, look, I'm sure that there's a process by which that could be attained. And do I think that the rest of the United States should invade a state that decides it wants to go on its own? No. Do I think it would work out well for that state? Absolutely not. I don't think that state would benefit from that at all. Balkanizing the United States is not going to improve the lives of the people here. There's probably also the threat of corporations running smear campaigns. Oh, yeah. Well, where do you think all that money's going? It's going towards negative ads against your opponent. It's helping to prop up your campaign so that you can buy more TV time, do more robocalls, travel to more places on their dime. I mean, absolutely. It's about, like, here's some money to fuck your opponent with. The problem is that corporations figured out a long time ago that they could give that money to people on both sides of an issue. Hedge their bets. Now, no matter who wins, they're in my pocket. Isn't that great? You know what? All these years that we've slowly but surely corrupted the American economic system to the point where we're just fucking sitting on giant piles of fucking endless money. You know what we could do, guys? You know how we've been, like, bribing these politicians and shit? Yeah. What if we just bribed all the politicians? Like, instead of going to the ones that, like, you know, tacitly support what we're doing, why don't we just go to both of them? I mean, we don't have to tell them that we're supporting the other guy, so, you know, whatever. That's a brilliant idea, because all it requires is that we reach into our money bin and pull out another fistful of cash. If you want things to change, then you have to attack what's screwing up our country at the root. Decreasing consumption is a protest. Well, dude, look, I'm glad you're doing something. I'm glad you're doing something. I don't think that decreasing consumption, look, I just don't think it's possible. And I gave you the reason for that, you know, earlier. People are very, very easily influenced. And I think that's just a human trait. These corporations are smart. They know how to psychologically manipulate people. They know how to push the buttons that they need to push in you. And they're not going to stop doing that just because you have a principle. And most people aren't going to stick to any principle like that. Call me naive, but I just want good intentions to prevail across the world. Do you think we'll ever see that day, Paul? Absolutely not. I mean, we won't. Maybe some of our distant, grandchildren will see it. But we ain't gonna see nothing. Perhaps I'm just trying to think of a strategy that's similar to Gandhi's strategy. Hey, man, look, good on you. At least you're thinking about things. Yeah, corporate socialism. Like people that are against socialism need to realize that corporate socialism, corporate welfare already exists and is being taken advantage of greatly. I think the best thing I can do is try and create as much as I can before I perish. Well, there you go. As much art. Yep. Go for it, dude. That's a great life pursuit and a noble one, so. A movie you should stream is Strike Commando, 1987. It's Rambo 2 on acid while being directed by an Italian psychopath. Okay, cool. That sounds good. If it's on YouTube, I'll check it out. Maybe you don't know this, Paul, but mathematically and technologically, we can restructure the entire surface of the Earth at 20 miles an hour. It would only take 10 years. I haven't heard that. I don't know if that's true, but if it is, cool. Global thermonuclear war is how humanity ends. You know this, Paul. I mean, I suspect that that's how humanity ends, but I don't know for sure. I don't got a fucking crystal ball. Make sure your art doesn't suck. Wow, man. You just, like, fundamentally undermined the meaning of the word art with your sentence. And showed a deep misunderstanding of it at the same time. Bravo, Lord Zayden. Bravo. You Pee Wee Herman avatar motherfucker. You know, you think a star wipe is going to happen? Some gamma ray burst from some sector of the galaxy that we didn't see coming. Just kind of scours the face of our planet. Socialism pays for emergency services. Emergency services themselves aren't socialism. Right. Right. And the idea of having somebody to help you in a fire isn't inherently socialistic. It's the idea that it's publicly funded. Paul, can you do an impersonation of TJ reading his cringe poetry? No, but thanks for asking, the anti-chat. Hillary was the consummate corporate candidate, but wouldn't you agree that American foreign and domestic policy would be more agreeable under her administration than Trump's? I mean, I said that long ago. I said that before Trump was elected, that, you know, despite the fact that she's a totally sold out corporate Democrat, I think that the reins of the nation would probably be better in her shitty fucking hands than they are in the hands of Donald Trump, and I stand behind that. Wasn't important enough to me to violate my personal belief of not voting. But do I think that we would be better off? Sure. I didn't say state ownership is socialism. I said that I was agreeing with the guy that said that, you know, socialism is about how something is funded, not the existence of that utility. And that's true. And that doesn't contradict what you just said. Very chill stream tonight. Yeah, man. I needed some chill time, so, you know, thank you all for being here to chill with me and keeping the conversation going. And, you know, it's not for everybody, but this kind of thing is why I do these. Here's some numbers on a screen. Hey, thank you, guy in the chair. I appreciate it. People are using religion to hate on Stephen Hawking. Well, whatever. I mean, people are going to do that no matter what. Anytime somebody that has a brain dies, there's going to be people that try and co-opt that death for something stupid. It's just the way things are. I'm cringing at this whole conversation. Man, thanks for letting us know. It's a cringe kid, dude. Good old cringe kids, man. I'm glad they haven't faded from fucking existence yet. I'm glad that meme hasn't fucking ended yet, dude. I'm glad there's cringe kids out there. Paul, why should a group of lesser people be regarded with the same respect when voting? I'm talking about the Senate. A group of lesser people. So you're talking about how the Senate because look, it provides two different overviews, right? That's the value of having the Senate, where those senators have a larger constituency, and then the House, where those people have a smaller constituency. It's about getting the local opinion and the broader statewide opinion, right? It makes sense. It's not a detriment. I understand why it was done that way, and I agree with it. In our current system, it totally makes sense, and it's a great stopgap and a great check and balance on one another. A great way to ensure that the broad perspective and the more local, direct, anecdotal perspective is considered in legislation. Here in Canada and finally legalizing weed, and I'm sitting here broke as fuck. Oh, man. I'm sorry. See where you're coming from in your stance on voting, but I respectfully disagree. I suspect there will be a blue wave in the midterms that will render our current state of affairs far less scary. Yeah, there will be. I have a feeling there will be, dude. And you're right. For a time, if you look at the short term, it makes your position less scary. But if you look at, like, take the old adage of the political pendulum, right? That politics in America are just an ever-swinging pendulum that swing far to the left, and then all of that momentum is used to swing it right back to the right again. So looking at this blue wave as some kind of a victory in the long term for this country, I think is a silly notion. This is, it's part of, it's like Brett Keane. It's part of the cycle. Thank you, Alan Reyes, for the $5. Appreciate it, man. Hey, Paul. A crazy homeless man I met on the bus described what the election of Trump will spark another Bolshevik-style revolution in which we kill all the rich people. Impossible? Yeah, probably. Yeah, I don't think that's happening. But I'm glad that, homeless dude... I'm glad homeless dude has a philosophy as well. After doing the cryptocurrency episode, do you have any opinion on blockchain technology being used as a ledger for voting? I don't, to be honest with you, we covered it kind of very, very lightly. I don't feel like I fully understand blockchain technology yet, so I'm not 100% sure. What I understand, it would be a good way to verify that one vote to one person rule. But once again, I don't want to speak too far out of turn on something that I admittedly know very little about. Let's theoretically dissolve the state lines then. We vote as a whole. Why then would we not vote strictly by population? I mean, I'm for that. I'm especially for presidential elections. Like, I'm for the abolishment of this kind of easily manipulated, gerrymandered system. I'm for the abolishment of the Electoral College and, the deciding of the... I mean, like... especially for the president, for the top office in the country, popular vote should win the day. The more people in the country that want that person as the leader should decide the day. And that's it. The arguments against that, of course, are like, well, that just disenfranchises rural people. Because more people live in the cities, and them places is, by and large, far more liberal. And to that, I just say, wow, you just figured out how a majority works. Congratulations. Hey, maybe if you weren't a shitheel living in the middle of Kansas with views that, you know, among other things, involve taking America back to some 1950s bullshit, then maybe you'd have a little bit more power in the country. Maybe your fucking views would be more politically palatable. But you're the one that decides to be a shitheel sitting in the middle of Kansas, dragging your feet when any progress or change happens. Not me. I'm not the one disenfranchising people living on the plains of Kansas. They're doing that to themselves. Oh man, yeah, that is just annoying. Dude, why don't you ask TJ? He did a 2.5 hour stream the other day. Or today. Like, it's not like he's inaccessible on this channel, please. You got a question for TJ about TJ's philosophy on things? Then please ask him. I don't like putting words in other people's mouths. Can you talk about Stephen Hawking at all? I spent a good portion of my stream yesterday talking about Stephen Hawking, and I don't know that I have anything more to say on the subject, to be honest. And I don't feel like repeating myself because somebody died. Objective... Oh, God. Objective morality is so subjective, it's not worth debating. Damn. Wrecked. So everybody should just live bunched up in big cities if they want to say in politics. I didn't say that. You said that. I just said that I don't feel like people that live in smaller, more rural places are disenfranchised because their opinions are lesser. Like, you know what I mean? There are less of them, ergo the politicians that they want elected don't get elected all that often. That sounds pretty fair to me. Hi, Dad. Can you please get me McDonald's on the way home from work? Sure, dude. Not a problem. There you go, dude. I think votes should be tallied up by how many acres of land each person has. I love that. Paul, it sounds like you basically want to rewrite the Constitution. If so, I'll be your Thomas Jefferson. I think the Constitution is due for revision. I think that the Founding Fathers built in our ability to revise the Constitution constantly. And I think this idea that some people live their political lives by, that document is an unchanging, holy thing that we should never touch with our hands and modernize, is stupid. There needs to be a Twitter account that retweets all the anti-white tweets, but instead replaces the word white with black. Why? Why does there need to be another fucking Twitter account? Please. You know what needs to happen? People need to stop using Twitter because it fucking sucks. That's what needs to happen. Yep. The founding fathers are idiots, and I hate God and this country. You got me. You got me. We should let Trump be our Putin. Okay, yeah, let's make him the unquestioned dictator of our entire country. Social media can feel like a ball and chain. I mean, it feels like that all the fucking time for me. I know I've talked about it here before, but just like that part of technology, how connected I'm expected to be with everybody that I know, is a real imposition in my life. It's not something I like, but it's something I have to deal with because the other option is to just not be in touch with anybody. To quote Earl Sweatshirt, Twitter makes me want to fucking kill myself sometimes. Yeah, I just take the sometimes out of that. Like most of the Constitution, the Electoral College is a safeguard, right? I think it's a safeguard that's no longer necessary. Paul, what happened to the Joker after The Dark Knight? Do you think he was still alive during the events of The Dark Knight Rises? The Joker? Oh. Yeah, that's right, because you don't really get to see him die. But they really can't do anything with him, because if they I mean, like, come on, dude. They can't do that. I don't know. Maybe he's alive, maybe he's dead. Maybe it's better to think that he died at the end, so that we don't get another fucking terrible Joker recasting. Another Jared Leto meme. Were you ever more right-wing on any of your political stances at any point in your life? I feel like most people shift back and forth throughout their lives. I mean, I was raised more conservative. My mom is kind of a blue dog Democrat, that kind of style, very union-based in her political ideology, but not really a person that talks about it all that much. My dad, on the other hand, is a pretty staunch conservative, and he enjoyed talking politics with me as soon as I got old enough to be interested. And so my political views for quite some time were his. I'd say even into my teens I held political views that were pretty conservative. It was high school and that kind of collaboration with people that made me start questioning some of the views that I had, because a lot of those views, and I'll be honest with you, included kind of tacit racism, particularly because of the area that I grew up in against Mexicans. Mexicans were derided even by the more liberal side of my family constantly. And it was not just Mexicans, that's the blanket term that they use for people of Latin descent. And a lot of my political views kind of centered around local politics, and a lot of local politics were centered around the quote-unquote problem of illegal immigration, because I lived in a very agricultural area. So, just kind of living in the real world helped me to shed most of those beliefs, and then the rest of them just fell off kind of naturally as I got older and realized that my own personal beliefs were very different from what my dad's were. Mexicans like tacos and sombreros. Mexicans, they like tacos and sombreros. Ay, 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 Mexicans, they never lie. They like tacos and sombreros till they die. Paul, I'm high. I just wanted to inform you. Wow, man. Wow. Wow, bro. When I found TJ, I was right-wing, but listening to you and him has driven me much more left. Do you feel accomplished that doing these streams is affecting people's perceptions politically? Not really. I think it's neat, I guess. I think it's interesting that some idea that I have here might spread into somebody else's life, but I don't really feel like it's much of an accomplishment. I enjoy that I can connect with people I watch and like more than ever, but at the same time, it sets this expectation of people being 100% always listening and bending to their fans' wills. I mean, there's a certain sense of entitlement, I think, that comes with being a fan of these internet personalities. And I guess I understand that because the idea of them, I think, is that they're more accessible and you can hold them a little more accountable because you're not part of the mass mob. You're part of this connected fandom. And I don't think it's always a bad thing, honestly, because I think that accountability is a two-way street. I think that the fans are trying to keep people honest a lot of times. And maybe they're off the mark in that sense of entitlement. Maybe they, a lot of times, people will spend time accusing people of things that are just fantasies that never happened, filling in the gaps in their knowledge with assumptions that don't really add up to reality. And they expect a little too much when it comes to divulging personal things, I think. But when it comes to the content, I'm not unhappy with the way things are. As much as I bitch and moan about the fans, I hope the fact that I spend hours and hours and hours and hours sitting with you guys like this shows that I'm just being crabby and that, my real philosophy on the matter is something very different. Diverse people in the nation will have varying interests. Electoral college balances out two diverse voting blocks. I mean, I'm tired of talking about the electoral college. I got to be honest with you. We need to move on. It's time. It's one of my least favorite conversations to have because, the people that support the electoral college think it's this, incredibly necessary safeguard against the tyranny of the majority, and I just don't see it that way. And I think it's just a matter of perception, and my perception isn't going to be changed, by talking about it over and over, and neither is yours. Doesn't mean it's not important to talk about it sometimes, but tonight I'm done. Split the electorate for each state by percentage of the vote. All right. I mean, whatever. I'm willing to talk about ways that we could improve the system that don't include just a direct popular vote, but I think the Electoral College is flawed as fuck. I mean, take a look at just congressional gerrymandering. You know what I mean? Look at how politicians of both parties rewrite district borders to ensure that they win, little chunks of the state, to try and push that electoral college victory for themselves and their party. I mean, it's just, it's just part of another fucking archaic, heavily manipulated system that's working against the country. Time will tell, but I can't fathom how the Republicans will pick up the pieces in the wake of Trump's tenure. I predict the party will no longer exist as it traditionally has. Could be wrong. I mean, I don't know about that. I don't know if I'm willing to say that the party is going to fundamentally change, but I do think that it's going to cause a bump back to, Democratic majorities, probably in the House, maybe in the Senate. Probably not this next election cycle for both, but it's possible, I guess. But once again, it's a temporary thing. The Democrats and liberals will have their little moment in the sun. Trump probably won't get reelected if he even finishes out this term. And, it'll be like that for a while, and then the pendulum will swing yet again. And we'll be right back where we're standing right now, having the same conversation about, man, this fucking conservative is such a fuck up, man. At least we can be hopeful about the fact that it's going to cause some Democrats to get elected. Oh, yeah, man. Oh, thank goodness for that. Nah. What did communists use before candles? Light bulbs. Dude, this Nico guy is like obsessed with TJ. He's just juggling TJ's balls with his tongue, and I'm just ignoring the shit out of him. It's amazing. I didn't say it wouldn't change. The Dems will most likely win a Congress, probably the next presidency. The Repubs will change views to whatever suits attacking the Dems. Nothing. Yeah, I don't really see any progress on that either. Do I have Klinefelter syndrome? No, I have Prader-Willi syndrome. Get your syndromes right, you stupid fuck that's been asking that same stupid question all night, dude. I have Prader-Willi syndrome, okay? Not Klinefelter. So fuck off. On another note, I really enjoy the method of paying for music and games on sites like Bandcamp and itch.io, where the creators can set their own price. Yeah. It's cool, right? I like that too. There's no way everyone just goes back to complacent mode after the Trump debacle. It's like it's almost unprecedented how bad Trump is. I mean, I think you underestimate the complacency of the United States population, my friend. I think you underestimate the short attention span and short memory of your average American. If you think there's going to be some groundswell of new liberal renaissance because Trump is a total debacle, you're wrong. I feel like people on the left tend to argue more based on emotion. Do you agree? Is this a good thing or bad or depends? I mean, I can see that kind of really basic overview of left versus right, where the left is more emotional and the right is more logically critical and pragmatic. But I think it's not really useful to use that beyond a broad description, of maybe the plan of attack of the different political parties, because saying that there's no emotion on the right. I mean, look at the fucking endless procession of screaming, red-faced talking heads that conservatives listen to. Look at their constant indignation over, the fucking whatever little perceived slight to their religious liberty, even no matter how non-existent it may be. You know what I mean? So, like, saying that fucking the right has nobody on it that's arguing from an emotional position, and that the left has nobody on it that's arguing from a logical and pragmatic position is just kind of ignoring the truth, I think. That's a good point too. The different emotional styles. Liberals focusing on empathetic emotion, and conservatives focusing on anger and fear. I think that's also kind of a broad stroke, but it's an interesting kind of addendum to what I said earlier, I think. They each find radicals from each side to make each other look bad. Well, I mean, I'm just so... Because it's so, like, it seems so basic to me. But, you know, the fact that there really isn't much difference between our parties anymore. And the fact that behind the scenes, they're definitely buddies, and they're definitely in on the fact that no matter who gets elected, it's all just part of a cycle. They're all, you know what I mean? Like, the corruption and the rot that has taken place amongst our elected officials cannot be overstated. These people are just, like most of them, absolutely gleeful to be part of the problem and to reap the monetary benefits of being part of that problem. And it doesn't matter if there's a D or an R next to their name, because I tell you what, after that fiery speech on the floor of the House of Representatives, they're going out to a beer with their liberal colleagues and talking about how great it is to be in on the scam. I remember seeing Nancy Pelosi and Mitch McConnell chumming it up behind doors a long time ago. It shattered my conception of them being enemies. So true. Oh, yeah, dude. Like, this idea that, like, I mean, they're very contentious in public. When you put a fucking news camera on a Democrat or a Republican, they cannot wait to point the finger. But it's all a play. Behind closed doors, it's all amicable. It's all well-known that it's all just for show, that in front of the cameras you might call somebody an incompetent nincompoop, but behind closed doors you're laughing with them about it and you know, telling them to do the same to you because you realize it's all part of the same scam. That's the problem. And that's really what corporate influence does to a two-party political system like we have. It homogenizes it. It influences, you know, the people that get elected are people that are most interested in being part of the scam. So the people that really want to change things are either completely barred from election by the fact that they can't compete with the money that the corporations are doling out, or they're just, you know, kind of assimilated into the collective, to use some Star Trek terminology. Or maybe disagreeing with someone politically does not make them any less of a human and should be treated as such. Oh, I absolutely agree with that. I'm just saying that this contentious face that they put on in public is a ruse to convince you that your representatives are working for your best interests, fighting against the very convenient bad guys on the other side of the aisle. But, you know, they put on their war faces for you because you like to think of things as, you know, having substantive difference between Democrat and Republican when it comes to the things that really matter. And they do that for you. They put on a play for you where they go and they act like they hate these people. And then they, you know, work with them behind the scenes, chum around with them. Hillary dumped way too much money into her campaign for Bernie to even stand a chance. It's absolutely true. Not only that, but, you know, Hillary basically was anointed by the DNC, so even Bernie's groundswell of, like, grassroots support, and Bernie did really, really good when it came to fundraising at a grassroots level, much better than Hillary did. You know, even in a situation like that, where somebody is good enough to transcend the need for handfuls of corporate money, somebody with principles, then the person without principles just uses their influence to make sure that they're fast-tracked anyway. If you can't win it by throwing money at it, then just steal it. And everybody's okay with that. I mean, the alt-right is going to eat itself because the thought behind the alt-right movement is just fundamentally and inherently flawed and leads to some silly conclusions. I mean, that's why you've got, like, super popular skeptic channels hosting straight-up neo-Nazis and acting like this is an important discussion that needs to be had. It's like, what? I mean, I don't have a problem with those neo-Nazis saying whatever they want, but I mean, you're really gonna you're gonna offer a stage for them and a megaphone for them to holler their stupid fucking nonsense? Okay. Paul, please consider a DFF on the Heavenly Kingdom, a cult that resulted in a messianic uprising that killed 20 million. The Taiping Rebellion. I think I've heard about it. I don't know much about it, but it would be an interesting one. I don't know that we're going to be sticking with cults, at least in the short term, for much longer on DFF. We may do one more to kind of close out a 2-week block on crazy, kooky cults, and then we are going to be in search of something totally different, with some totally different tone and some totally different way of going about things. Hey, Chels. You got the kitty? You can just put him down in here. I'll watch him for a while. He's not going to bother me. Poor kitty. He's getting way better with the dogs, though. Have you noticed?
At least with Dino. I think he's still scared of Sal.
I don't know. I saw him and Sal kind of have an interaction that he didn't at least hiss and try and bat at him, you know. Sal was nice to him. He sat there and just kind of went nose to nose with him, and they looked at each other for a little bit. So it was okay. I think he's getting better. I think he's starting to kind of chill out a little.
Yeah. Okay. I see you later. Oh yeah, he was hungry. I can hear him chewing.
He probably answered this, but DFF on Stephen Hawking in his life. Maybe. I mean, here's the thing about Deep Fat Fried, right? In my opinion, the shows that we've done that are the best are shows where at least one of us was incredibly passionate about the subject. And it's not always just one of us. But I think that when one of us brings that passion to a show, and has a genuine interest in that topic outside of just finding funny ways to riff on it, which has kind of been how we worked in the past. In the past, on Drunken Peasants, which is kind of the paradigm where I'm using paradigm all the time now because I fucking read it in a book and remembered it, and I was like, man, let's overuse paradigm. But on the Drunken Peasants, the idea kind of was, let's take content and let's formulate ways to make that content funny despite our disinterest in it. And I think that is a fun way to go about things. We're trying to do things a little differently on Deep Fat Fried, and one of those things I think that we've done is kind of trying to cover things that we're passionate about, and not necessarily with an eye towards making them funny. Although, you know, not shying away from that opportunity either. And I like that. So I tried to sleep, but gave up and came back. Damn you, Paul. Oh. I love how everyone makes me responsible for their sleep patterns on this show because I stream at odd hours of the night. You got guts, kid. I'll give you that. You got guts. You got chutzpah. You don't have to be sorry you sneezed. Why are you apologizing for a sneeze, dude? You can come over here and sing Wild About Harry for an hour for all I care. You got carte blanche, babe. I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. Now, if you fart, I do want an apology. Oh shit! People are leaving in droves because you sneezed. Never mind. Quit sneezing.
Wow.
I'm kidding. I think people actually joined because you sneezed.
Was just too cute.
Whoa.
Doesn't Dino look so handsome?
He does.
Yeah.
He just got groomed today, and he is a handsome boy.
And I did some stuff too.
You did? What'd you do?
Mainly like the clippers for the first time.
Cool. Well, you guys did a great job. He looks awesome. My stomach's been feeling like shit for a bit, so I'm going to see if getting rest will help. Have a good one, Coolman. Thank you for your help, as always. Thank you for being a mod and shit.
Coolman is dope.
I like Coolman. He a real motherfucker. You know what I mean? Coolman a real motherfucker. He ain't no trifling ass, hoe ass, trick ass, mark ass, punk ass, bitch ass, whack ass, fucking piece of shit. Coolman a real deal. I don't know why I went so long without adding a few people that are mods that I see in here all the time that I, kind of trust to just make sure the TISM doesn't take over. But man, can I comment on how much nicer the atmosphere has been these last few fucking streams, dude? Holy shit. Dinor, leave the kitty alone, please. No, I know. It's just like Kitty. It's Kitty that's standing in the way of that right now.
Yeah, it is.
Dinor is perfectly fine with it. He's just interested, trying to make friends. Are you ever worried about any police coming in while you smoke your tobacco? No. Once again, time will tell. I'm unconvinced that you can rely on historical precedents in the wake of historically unprecedented events. But maybe Trump will have no long-term impact. I mean, he might have some sort of small impact on voting trends. But, this idea that some party is going to fundamentally change its stripes, or both parties might fundamentally change because of Trump, I don't think really bears much fruit. I mean, look at this. I got this pop-up on my phone today, and I wanted to fucking throw up. So this pop-up comes up from CNN or some shit, my news app, and it's like, Congress has just repealed the Dodd-Frank protections put into place to prevent another financial meltdown like the one we had in 2007, 2008. And nobody's talking about it. So the legislation that was passed to stop people from speculating on leveraged debt to the point where the economy can no longer sustain the weight of that debt and it almost crashes everything has been repealed so that they can do it again. That's what I'm saying. Dodd-Frank was exactly like a watered-down Glass-Steagall. So it was a shitty fucking replacement for decent protection against that kind of financial manipulation, and they still repealed it. They want no barrier between their ability to fucking speculate on retarded fucking derivatives that nobody but them understand. They don't even understand it half the fucking time. To the point where the entire global economy might collapse due to their cash grab. You see what I'm saying? This is why I hate to harp on it, but this is why I don't vote. The writing is on the wall. recently did stand-up for the first time, and your style of loud comedic outbursts and quiet build-ups was a huge inspiration. I'd just like to thank you. Congrats, dude. If that's actually true, then congrats. That's a ballsy thing. I've never done stand-up. I mean, I've done something, I guess, close to stand-up at the... I felt the closest thing I ever did to stand-up was kind of the meetup that we had in L.A., the Drunken Peasants meetup, where we kind of took the stage, and I did a long-form kind of story time with Paul, fielded kind of heckling from the audience, and it felt stand-up-ish. And it was a lot of fun, man. It was a lot of fun. So, congrats. I would vote if Tim Allen ran for president with Jeb Bush on the ticket. Capitalism limits, in fact, the well-being of 60% of the human population. Today, in the context of relative and absolute poverty, this will only get worse, and no amount of politics can intervene. Hey, kitty. I'm not wearing pants today, so you can't climb my leg. I got shorts on, kitty. I'd pee on Trump's leg given the opportunity. Cool. I mean, who wouldn't? I just want to see his face if somebody peed on his leg, you know? See his reaction. Depopulation is needed for lasting change to happen. Oh shit, dude. Autism peddler, Illuminati confirmed, dude. The Georgia Guidestones, we're on to you. We're on to you, Bilderbergs. We're on to you, vampires, literal hobgoblins. We're on to you. You think you're pulling our puppet strings, but we cut them long ago. Paul, what would you do if there was a grizzly bear in your house? Probably just accept my fate and lay down and wait for it to come eat me and dismember me, because you can't escape a grizzly bear in your house. If there's a grizzly bear in your house, Dinor, leave the kitty alone. He doesn't want to play with you. Come here. Come here. Well, clearly he does want to play with you because he just chased you over here, but he's being mean. He's being mean. You shouldn't let him be mean to you. Crazy kitty. You let that crazy kitty be mean to you? Kitty, don't be mean. Sibling rivalry. He's just a baby, Dinor. He's just a baby. I know, he pisses you off. I know. But he's just a baby. You were like this when you were a baby, too. You were annoying as fuck. Well, you still kind of are. So, cut him some slack, man. Yeah, dude. If there's a bear in your house, it's now the bear's house. No joke. As wealth and education rises, the birth rate drops. Overpopulation won't happen, but we already have too many people. Right, so we need to round up some of the undesirables. I mean, I'm all for I'm pretty radical when it comes to quote unquote reproductive rights, because you know, I'm way more into the rights of the child than even a pro-lifer is. You know what I mean? Like, I think that, you know, a civilized society should ensure that children aren't born into horrible, psychologically damaging situations to people that have absolutely no intention of taking care of them emotionally, monetarily, or physically. And I think that the rights of the unborn to not experience that kind of bullshit life trumps and supersedes your rights to blow an unprotected load in your girlfriend's vagina and create a kid. Would be hard/wrong to enforce that, though. Why? We have a procedure, right? It's totally reversible that would ostensibly sterilize a person, right? And wouldn't change their quality of life at all. And it's reversible. So if at some point in their life they demonstrate their capability to raise a parent, their psychological and financial stability, their willingness to, put that child first in their lives and make sure that it has a decent upbringing, then they have a quick medical procedure to reverse the sterilization procedure that they had when they were born, and they procreate. Easy peasy. I'm not an antinatalist, but I am pro-regulation of the child-rearing industry. Dinor's trying so hard to make friends with this kitty. He's just like laying on his back and looking at the cat, and the cat's like... Dinor's like, but look, I'm submissive. And the cat's like, I don't care, leave me alone. Aren't you limiting people's freedoms then? Absolutely. That's what we do in a polite society. There have to be limits on people's freedoms. Having laws against rape is a limit on people's freedom to indiscriminately rape. Having laws against murder is a limit on people's freedom to indiscriminately murder whoever pisses them off. Yep. Don't rear children. Don't worry, I won't. I'm not in the business of trading freedom for safety. I'm not asking you to trade freedom for safety. So... I guess we're in the same business. Paul, in a basic foundation of ethics, do you believe circumcision is needed at all and should at all be practiced? It could be practiced as an elective procedure for an older person that decides that they want to remove their own foreskin, but the practice of cutting off people's foreskins at birth is barbaric, anachronistic, silly, and has absolutely no medical benefit whatsoever. At least not one that justifies the mutilation of a person's penis. So, I think you get where I stand on that. I had a weird fucking dick for a long time because of circumcision. I had when I was circumcised as a kid, the doctor that performed the task of stripping my foreskin off of my cock left a little bit of it attached to the head of my penis. So I didn't have a normal looking penis until I was a teenager, and that thing finally fucking broke. And now I've got a normal, like, circumcised looking dick. Yeah. Thanks a lot. Man. It was totally cool having a dick that looked weird for a while. Thanks, circumcision. That's graphic. Oh my god, dude. Don't be such a shrinking violet. Circumcised. Yeah. Did it hurt when it broke off? I don't even know when it happened. How did it break? Probably because I was jerking off. so much. It finally was just like, this is not, this little piece of skin here no longer needs to be attached. All right, I don't know, but I don't remember when it broke. It just happened one day, and I looked down, and it was gone. I was like, oh, okay. Well, there's that. Surprised I was not circumcised, as my parents were extremely Catholic. Yeah, it's pretty weird, honestly, to be born in this. I mean, I guess maybe it's getting less and less so, but yeah, a large majority of people, you know, at least in some generations, were circumcised at birth for absolutely no reason. We were told we couldn't afford universal health care, social programs, etc. Both parties recently voted to increase military spending and cut social programs. Yeah, dude. I mean, you got a point, right? What will it take for Americans to revolt? That's not going to happen, bro. Those days are over. The chances of that happening died, you know, long time ago. A lot of it based on just the will of the American people has been broken. That's why our empire is dying. That's why we're declining. That's why we will continue to decline. That's why, you know, future generations will not see the United States as a dominant cultural force anymore. And it'll probably balkanize and wither away and become just a footnote in history, because just the will of these people that live in this country has been broken. It's non-existent anymore. Like, there's some people out there with some genuine passion, but it's usually in service of maintaining the status quo, which isn't working, which the political class and the corporate class have wisely and intelligently instilled in people. This idea that you're actually doing something when really all you're doing is enforcing our status quo fucking ownership of your life and everything around you, and our constant economic exploitation of you and everyone else in the world besides. It's over, man. You know, just like in the Roman Empire, where the populace became fat and complacent, got picked apart by lean, hungry barbarians from the north and the east. We're at that stage, man. Is a revolution justifiable? Absolutely. I mean, it's written into our Constitution that a revolution is justifiable. You know, our Declaration of Independence is a document justifying the revolution of the American people against the British government. So, is it justifiable, especially at this point, with the complete and utter subversion of the will of the people having taken place generations ago? Absolutely. Is it going to happen? No. Because people are comfortable, by and large, with the status quo. I mean, Russia will more than likely end up being absorbed eventually into whatever China becomes. China is ascendant. I mean, you look at every metric for future success, and China is just topping the charts. That is say what you want about their politics, but that is a people whose, at least their political class, has some will when it comes to being a dominant force in the world, and they will, and they are, and they will. That lead that they have over us is going to steadily gain, and their close proximity to Russia is probably going to necessitate some kind of coalition that will eventually probably just be a cultural absorption of Russia into China on a long enough time scale. That's how I see it playing out anyway. I mean, the United States will balkanize at some point in the decline of this country, and I don't know when that'll be, but at some point, as it's failing, people will say, you know what, let's just jump ship and we'll be Californians. And once that starts, other states will do it. but it's not going to fix anything because all of these states are still stained with the very poison that is going to rot our country from the inside out, and that is the ever corrupting influence of capitalism and money. Would you say the complacency of the American people is a kind of twisted form of large-scale learned helplessness? I mean, it is in large part psychological manipulation. And that's something that people don't like to talk about because it involves admitting that you yourself have been psychologically manipulated to be accepting of things that maybe you wouldn't be if you hadn't been manipulated otherwise. Cartoons, to some extent movies, but I don't think that these are necessarily bad things. The ones that I think the manipulation that I think is the most pernicious is the manipulation that happens in advertising, and it's the best example of that. Advertisers at one point were trying to get the word out about their product, but that's really not what advertising is about anymore. Companies figured out a long time ago that you should really just be psychologically manipulating people to make positive associations with your product. Not really talking about the virtues of your product, but just, causing people to feel good when they look at your product. And that's been done to you if you grew up in America or the Western world. That's been done to me. That's been done to everybody in this chat. And to say that that doesn't affect how we perceive things, I think, is to just reduce the power of the mind. Psychology is almost everything when it comes to being a conscious being, and to know that you've had your head tinkered with from the time that you were old enough to look at a television. Kind of a disquieting thought. And it's not just corporations that are doing that kind of thing. Hey, director, how about you fucking suck my dick? Do you see me lingering around your Nowheresville channel telling you what you can and can't talk about based on my flawed perception of who you are as a person? No. You see me not caring about who the fuck you are. Go away. Stop bugging me like a fucking mosquito. You're adding absolutely nothing, and you're changing absolutely nothing by coming in here and trying to tell me what I can and can't fucking talk about. I talk about whatever I want for as long as I want, at whatever depth that I want. Stupid fuck. Paul, do you think that if governments are going to try and control every action of its populace, then the country will eventually crumble? No, I don't think that that's necessarily a rule. Imagine being so desperate for attention. Yeah, well, it is what it is. Director's been around here for a while, and he oftentimes will contribute, unless it's somebody just you. I doubt it, though, because who would impersonate director? But sometimes he adds a little bit of something interesting to the chat, but that last comment was just fucking retarded. Like, you spend a lot of time in here, director, but you haven't learned what kind of person I am at all. Who do you think works in the government? 99% of the people there are just like you, civilians. Yeah, but they're part of the machine. You know what I mean? When you're employed by the government, when you're part of the government, you're part of the money-making machine. You're part of that internal black market trickle-down economy where money changes hands, for political favors and shit. So to say that those people aren't influenced is just silly, man. You're uneducated, Paul. Don't mind the fact I haven't given you an example of how. I mean, look, to a certain extent, I am uneducated. I don't have a lot of formal education. Read a lot of books. Spent a lot of time thinking, talking, discussing my ideas with people that are pretty smart. So, I don't try and present myself as some fucking educated dude that's pontificating about geopolitics from some position of absolute knowledge. Just talking about it as a layperson. Well, yeah. Everybody in a capitalist economy is a part of a machine. You're a cog of different size. And being a bigger cog converts more torque in society. It's a really good, example to use. Being a smaller cog in the machine, not only are you more prone to break down because your situation is more delicate, but, your personal influence on society doesn't provide much torque. Whereas the bigger cogs in the machine kind of get to drive society at the expense of the smaller cogs, which have to rotate much faster to keep up. It's a pretty good analogy. Well, I could explain in detail if I weren't on chat. What am I supposed to do on this slow chat thing? Have me on, Paul, and we can have a detailed discussion on this topic. Didn't you just get done telling me I was too stupid to talk about it and how uneducated I am and how I'm a drunken peasant who doesn't... And then you want me to have you on my fucking show? To shit up my fucking vocals as well? Fuck you. You come at me with a fucking hair lip, and I'm gonna treat you like a piece of shit. Yeah, let's have a respectful conversation after I just made the stupidest comment you've read all night. In a ideology chat of all fucking things. Fuck you. Clean up your act, quit being such a pompous fucking douchebag, and don't ever, ever order me to do a goddamn thing ever again. And maybe someday you and I will have a conversation about something. Till then, suck my cock. I'm more convinced that as the American empire crumbles, another Hitler-like figure will rise from the ashes, ultimately fall, and the country will go out kicking. Nah, I don't think so. I mean, maybe. There'll probably be multitudes of Hitler-like figures in our future, of varying degrees. But I think that the obvious move is away from the American empire and being a part of it. It's just apparent looking around me that it's not working. And, what's next? Who knows? Do you guys think about DFF episodes where you debate more serious topics? Yeah. And I mean, look, we're talking about cults. I mean, that's a pretty serious topic, no? And debating, like, in the last episode, we had this kind of really interesting for me conversation about really what a cult is. How do you define that? When does an established religion become a cult? When does an offshoot of a religion become a cult? And how do you decide that? No matter what happens to the United States government, Americans will live on. Our geography guarantees that we can't be overtaken from the outside. That's bullshit. Our culture and social life are what's at risk. That and just our autonomy is at risk. You have no idea what you're talking about. Our geography does not make us 100% defensible and immune from invasion. If you think that's true, then you just don't know what you're talking about. Most people here have no idea what they're talking about. Yeah, that's true. Myself included. Dios mio, man. Whew. Paul, would you, TJ, and Scotty all go on a mass mooning spree? Like, just like walking around and going, hey, and showing people our butts and running away? Why would we do that? I think it's a pretty harmless prank, but we'd probably end up in jail for exposing ourselves and shit. And it's just like, why? What would that? Why would I do that? I don't want to do that. Nothing can defend a country against modern intercontinental ballistic missile attacks. You can stop some, but those that get through will still kill thousands or even millions. I mean, especially with the amount of nuclear weapons out there now. You're absolutely right. There's no impervious missile defense shield. And if all of the nukes are launched, it's going to be... It's just over, dude. When do I suspect general AI will be invented? I don't know. I know that scientists all over the world are dedicating their entire lives and careers to the prospect. And I know that human beings are nothing if not tenacious. And that probably means that it will be eventually reached. Now, I don't know. A lot of the reading that I've done on the subject has been like AI's existence kind of rides on whether or not we can figure out quantum computing. That's really what we should be looking into. I don't know if that's the case, but you know, the power conferred by a quantum computer would allow us to figure out some of the puzzles of artificial intelligence a lot faster than we can do now. Okay, call me pessimistic, but I'm certain the human race as we know it will end at the hand of nukes, simply because they exist, will not go away, and therefore it's just a matter of time. I mean, just because something exists doesn't mean it'll be utilized in the way that you think it will be. I mean, I understand it, and I think that you're probably right. I don't want to seem like I'm being too argumentative against your position. I doubt your certainty. But beyond that, I think you're probably right. You're doing work with machine learning, and it's not the same, but it's pretty... I mean, like, look, your field is one of the, pieces of foundation that artificial intelligence will be built on. Machine learning... even though it's not directly trying to create an artificial intelligence, is going to be fundamental in the development of one. So there's, I'm sure, tons of fields that I don't know about that are all contributing to what will eventually be the foundation of the creation of a consciousness outside of ourselves using only technology. If someone were to invent a decentralized AI that used blockchains that infects every computer in the world, then we're fucked. A decentralized AI, that'd be crazy. I think it's a long way off, but probably some interesting conundrum that future generations will have to face. modern ICBMs can even work like an asteroid. No nuclear warhead, just a giant fucking impact with insane velocity. Yeah. I mean, you definitely are going to add a little bit more to the destruction. You put a warhead on it, and I don't know why you would just launch like a... I guess you could, you know, probably destroy, you know, a significant portion of downtown or something by just dropping something from space on it. Kitty? Kitty, why you do that? You want to come see me? Hey. Hey, buddy. It's okay. He's just attacking my foot. I don't need you protect. I don't need you protect. It's okay. He's just a kitty. Paul, it's almost your B-day. What you gonna do? I don't know, dude. I don't know. I don't know. I got no idea. Can we change slow chat to just be like 10 or 20 seconds? Maybe. I'll think about it, honestly. But I think it'll be exploited pretty quickly. I think it has to be more than 10 or 20 seconds. But maybe I could lower it from whatever it's at now. I'll look into it. But there are people that'll just sit there and type in variations of nigger and wait 10 seconds and type it over and over and over again.
Man, I banned like a lot of versions of nigger too.
Oh yeah, there's still, you know, a million different ways to do it.
Oh yeah.
Listen to True Colors 20 times and have a good cry. Okay, maybe I'll do that. Do you think there will ever be a point where the human race loses its modern lifestyle due to a cataclysm and reverts back to Stone Age era living? Kind of like a fresh restart? Maybe. I mean, that's a possibility. I think it's also possible that, you know, humanity doesn't get that opportunity for a restart. I mean, we're a very soft target in a universe of profound threats. You know, we've talked a lot about nukes recently here. But that's just one of the things that could happen. I mean, our constant overprescription of antibiotics might lead to some super strain of a virus that wipes out 90% of humanity and leaves what's left completely unable to support itself, and we die off that way. A fucking asteroid that's been occluded by the sun for millennia could come, you know, screaming out of the fucking void and wipe all life out of the fucking surface of the planet. Humans predominantly included. You know, a giant cataclysmic caldera or earthquake could destabilize the world enough to cause that nuclear... I mean, we're just under constant threat. Gamma ray bursts, supernovas, and, you know, just insane nonsense. I mean, yeah, like, that's the thing. We know that there have been world-killing asteroids in the past, in Earth's past. It's happened. Probably multiple times in the history of the planet. And it's just a matter of time. It's like we're on the clock. Tick-tock, tick-tock, till something comes screaming out of the fucking darkness and just turns the surface of the world to ash for a few fucking millennia. Yeah, Jupiter is a nice little shield for those big, you know, that big gravity well helps to divert a lot of those. And but yeah, it's not a totally protective shield though. That's why we need to colonize the Mars. I mean, that's why we need to be orienting ourselves as a species to think about colonizing another solar system and beyond. Because, you know, if we've learned anything, it's that life on this planet runs in heavy cycles. And on the grand like scale of time. They're very temporary, and if we don't want to be part of that cycle that has happened over and over again on this planet and will inevitably happen again for one reason or another, then we need to start fucking thinking about how to get out of this solar system immediately. The only way to ensure that we don't die on this rock is to make sure that we are on so many rocks in so many places that the thought of us dying is moot. Some kind of a galactic human empire. And, you know, if we want to preserve ourselves as a species, as witnesses to this, whatever it is, this universe, right? Then that's what we need to be thinking about doing. Will you do a birthday stream where you open presents we send you? Maybe. I don't know. I don't really want to put my hand out on my birthday, so I'd rather just, you know, have some cake or something with my friends and my Ashley and my Dinor and my Kede, Salvador. There's evidence that humans have returned to the Stone Age roughly every 10,000 years due to asteroid impacts. Graham Hancock has a lot to say about it. Yeah. I mean, we're on the clock, guys, and that's all there is to it. But when you understand that that's the truth and that we're probably not going to do anything about it, it kind of relieves a lot of the pressure of existence. You know what I mean? It's all fleeting, it's all temporary, and it all means nothing in the end. So, what's the point of being scared of it? I don't think it's naturally possible to produce artificial intelligence that's capable of acting on an evolving moral compass. The morals would have to be designed and programmed. Why? I mean, I'm not saying that, I'm not trying to contravene you by asking a question, but I'm interested to know why you think that that's not a possibility. Maybe not now, but in the far-flung future, given that technology continues to accelerate at the pace it does. I'm wondering why you're so bearish on the idea. I'm writing a book about my experiences with depression. How do I make the topic seem more intriguing? I feel to the general and populace the topic is something most people want to avoid discussing. I don't know what the answer to that is. I do know that I made a video once on this channel where I kind of just spoke my internal dialogue, and a lot of people seem to be affected by that. So maybe think about weaving that, making it so personal that you actually give your depression a voice and a character in your book. You know what I mean? That might be an interesting way to tackle it. Does anyone think that movies have gotten really bad? I don't. I'm not raising my hand. You can't see me, but I'm not. I think movies have always been bad and good, and entertaining, and boring, and shitty, and really well made. And I don't think that that has really changed. There will always be good and bad movies. This their shit now mentality is dumb. Yes, absolutely true. If you look at any era of film, there was tons of shitty ass schlock and a very few really, really great films, and then a bunch of mediocre nonsense. And that's basically the way it is now. So, I guess your opinion on where a movie lies on that spectrum is really the only thing that it changes with time. I know what you're talking about, director. My uneducated ass has read about Dyson swarms and Dyson spheres before. So, I'm sorry to preempt your ability to inform me on something, but I know a little bit about Dyson swarms. They don't preserve humanity. So, I look at them as a stepping stone, a possibility, I suppose. Habitats outside of the need for a planetary, body. I was born 40 years too late and missed all the good music. Yeah, I hate that stupid shit too. Music is very much similar to movies and that people and I'm guilty of this too. I just really love the music of my childhood. I grew up listening to a lot of Motown 60s, 70s. I grew up in the 80s and the 90s. So that was my experience, and my taste in music kind of leans pretty heavily in that direction. But I don't think that music was any better or worse overall then than it is now. You can still find really good music if you're willing to look. In fact, your ability to find different kinds of music is probably at a peak at this point in human civilization. So, be grateful for that shit. I mean, don't let your excuse for saying that music sucks be that, well, everything that fucking corporations force on me sucks, so music sucks. Like, step outside of the bullshit that's used in movie trailers and plays on the radio every 15 seconds and shit, and find some music. Well, it's been fun, everybody. I think the stream is drawing to a close. But there's no need to be sad about it, because we'll be back again some point in the very near future, I'm sure. Till then, thank you for watching, thank you for chilling, thanks for the good conversations, and I'll catch all of you next time. Peace.